So all right, so you're now trying to become a coach.
Yeah.
And how did you wind up at Westwood?
Well, like,
you just went?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
sort of like, they're giving me an opportunity. I was like, I don't have anything else to do. No one else is hiring me, so I might as well give this a try. And, as I shared with you the other day,
Please.
In November of my first year there, Steve Lavin, who was the restricted earnings coach on the men's side at that time, said, hey, I'm going over to see Coach Wooden tonight, and you're coming with us. And he brought some other men's coaches, and I went over there. And
Where? His house?
His apartment in Encino. And I was a nervous wreck. I was like sweating even more than I'm sweating now. And I have hot flashes now. So it's, a whole different set of deals. But I walked in with these men's coaches, and I was in the back, and Coach Wooden said, who are you? And I was like, Cori, close. And he said, how do you spell Cori? And I said, Cori. And he goes, you come with me. And he walked me into his apartment, and right outside of his den was a little bench that said Cori. And he said, you're the first person I've ever met that spells it like my great-granddaughter, Cori. And I pretty much tried to go back every other Tuesday for almost 15 years after that.
No kidding. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
So
life-changing.
That was a connection that you made with John Wooden.
Yeah.
And we have this here, Chris. You got this at a garage sale or something?
It was kind of the Valley.
Didn't you go to Rose Bowl?
Oh my gosh!
Something, yeah.
It's odd. And it was just sitting in someone's garage. It's
and it was like $20 or something. I was like, can I buy this? Yeah.
The famous pyramid of success of John Wooden, autographed to somebody. I don't know who it is.
Some lady.
Somebody who wound up giving it to somebody who's selling it in a garage. Do you use this at all, or no, not really?
I do. And I think a big piece of it, and what's really cool is that not only in sports, but it's also, I think Forbes magazine a couple years ago did an article that it's still the most widely used business motivational tool, even to this day.
Yes.
And so I just think, but the reality is it's about character, and I don't think character ever goes out of style. It's about doing the right thing in your process and allowing the outcomes to take care of themselves, redefining what success looks like, what competitive greatness looks like. And honestly, that was what I wrote in my journal yesterday or 2 days ago, is I just said, help me to define success the way Coach Wooden taught me. And that's really about giving your best effort and having the peace of mind that you did your very, very best, and trusting that the rest of it will take care of itself.
How do you pass this along to your players? Like, how do
imperfectly? I mean, that's. I think that's the part about. I think the reality is another quote of Coach Wooden's. I'm just bringing him. Sorry,
Please.
But he said the biggest form of partiality is to treat every player the same. And that standards don't change, but the way in which you teach those standards change based on relationship, based on getting to know them. And I said, the way that we pass these things on to our players is we develop genuine relationships, we get to know them, and we hold the standard, but we do it in different ways according to the personalities of our players and the needs that they have.
What would winning a title mean to your kids? What would it mean?
Well, I think, one of the biggest gifts Coach Wooden gave me is that when you have the kind of success he had, it validated the way in which he went about his process. And it encouraged me that you can be at the highest levels of excellence, and you don't have to be demeaning. You don't have to be like win at all costs. You don't have to be transactional with your kids and, push all the right buttons to elicit this, response or against each other. And I was like, okay, it is possible to win at the highest levels and to treat people well and to hold high standards and not doing it in a demeaning way. For me personally, it would mean it validates the process, and I would get to pay that forward to somebody else. That you don't have to, you can do things the right way. You can do things with integrity. You can be fiercely competitive and still care about people and invest in their hearts. And so for me personally, that's the way. I think our players, it would maybe mean something a little bit different. And the fact of like they walk down those hallways every day. And there's a trophy case in the Hall of Fame and that has 124 national championships. And
I laugh because that's an insane number.
It's an insane number.
Yeah.
And none of those are women's basketball. So the chance to put that, like when I first got here, I took a picture. There was an empty space in that trophy case, and I took a picture of it, and I put it right next to my desk. That we were going to have uncommon women willing to make uncommon choices, yielding an uncommon result, which is fill in that empty space. And so that would be really meaningful to them. Now, I always have to say that I don't think that's right that we don't have a trophy for that, because in 1978, Annie Myers and
Who was there last night?
Annie Myers was there. Denise Curry was there. They're amazing. They won the national championship, but it was AIAW, and the NCAA didn't acknowledge women's basketball yet. And so it's really not fair, because they did win the national championship. Just because the NCAA didn't acknowledge it didn't mean it didn't happen. But in the current landscape, we don't represent that there. And so reality for us is it would mean a lot to enter into the tradition of excellence that UCLA has.
Well, I wish you luck in that endeavor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And and again, I love how you were talking about your process. You can be very demanding as well.
Yes,
I noticed
am.
during a timeout last night, I do believe you had your board in your hand, but you didn't draw up a play. You kind of just aired everybody out for like 30 seconds. I was blocked out by your staff.
Yes.
Did I catch that
Yeah,
right?
People, the mistake of being process oriented does not mean you're not demanding or competitive. And our players, in fact, I think Lauren Betts said in the press conference, she said, don't mistake it. Coach Cori is holding the standard. If you don't meet the standards, you're coming out. You're not playing, period. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very serious about standards of excellence. And I'm a pretty spirited, fiery coach at times. But hopefully in a balanced fashion most of the time. So
you're balanced.
Sometimes.
You definitely were making a point.
Yes.
I noticed you were being very pointed in making a point last night.
Yes.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.